So, game 2 is going to be going down on Yonsu. Currently 1-0 up to the player spawning in the top right hand position. He's the yellow Protoss representing Alien Invasion, CPU. And his opponent, down to the bottom left, the teal Protoss player representing my insanity. It is Wilko. So Wilko has to win this map if he wants to advance forward into the semi-finals. This is a quarter-final game. What's on the line? Points. No prize or anything like that as of yet, but points towards qualifying for the monthly Go for SC2 finals. Those monthly finals have 600 euros on the line. So that's a pretty good time. The top players, obviously, over the month get through, as well as the people who on Monday nights go for SC2 automatically qualify by winning. So just keeping a little eye on exactly what these two are going to be doing. We can see that Gateway is getting thrown down early from both. It is a map where it's possible to go for something crazy like a proxy 2 gate, and that's why we're seeing Wilko just scout the edges of his main just to make sure, scouts down his natural base just to be certain. When you've got only one map in order to drop to be knocked out of a tournament, of course you're going to make sure for things like that aren't on their way, especially if your opponent has a single map of buffer space. Double gases coming down for both players. This is looking a pretty similar opening to map number 1. And for those of you who didn't see map number 1 or are just joining the stream now, basically what that means is that you missed a pretty cool game. Wilko went early aggressive, went in with an Oracle, but unfortunately his opponent's CPU went for Blink Stalkers. Got more down, and while initially Wilko had a few more, he tried to bait the Stalkers out in order to try and allow his Oracle to get some more damage done. But because that Oracle wasn't able to deal much damage before the Blink Stalkers got back, when Wilko lost a lot of his Stalkers that were baiting to Blink, he was then in a really bad spot. He held on nicely, but CPU got a Dark Shrine down, and with no detection for Wilko, it was GG as soon as the first swipe came through. An additional gateway coming down for both players yet again, both of them opting for 2 gates just to be pretty safe. I mean, I'd say it's not standard. A lot of Protoss players will opt to go for a tech heavy opening, but 2 gates is quite safe. It allows you to transition into a lot of things. It does mean that your tech's a little bit later, but you can defend a lot of all-ins, and with Stalkers being pumped out exclusively, you don't use too much gas, but you still get quite a powerful force. And it's also worth noting you can look to actually go and poke and prod with those Stalkers too, and that can sometimes be very successful. So, not too much else coming down. One of the observers unfortunately does appear to be lagging a little bit, which is quite unfortunate. Hopefully it's not disrupting the players, but everything now going pretty standard, both going for exactly the same build. First variation now from CPU, actually adopting the style of Wilko in map number 1, which is getting the 3rd gate, and Wilko doing exactly the same. 3 gate pressure is not an all-in, you can transition out of this. And it's still very powerful due to the Mothership Core. If you catch your opponent's units off guard, a nice little time warp can cause a lot of problems. So this Stalker for Wilko was holding the Watchtower. Going to take a couple of hits of damage, but nothing too disastrous. CPU needs to be careful, obviously his reinforcements will come through quicker here. He's pulling his probe back, doesn't get that spotted. Very important in order to get that pylon down. Meanwhile, more Stalkers coming across the map, Warp Gate tech nearly finished, and a robotics facility is going to be on the cards now for Wilko. For CPU rather. Wilko just adding in that 3rd gate. It's not quite done yet, it's a little bit delayed, which should give CPU a small Stalker advantage, but it actually hasn't, and that's quite interesting. He will go up a fraction more against his opponent now by 1, but that will soon get leveled out, so it's a very equal position for both of these two at the moment. And it's likely to come down to control. The fact that one of these Stalkers is down a little on the shield health is actually quite massive, but big time warp. One Stalker gets taken down, and mass recall is forced. That uses a lot of that Cyber Core's energy, or Mothership Core's energy rather, and as such, it's just awkward. Wilko now going to be counter-attacking. The thing he's got to be concerned about though is the robotics facility. I say he's got to be concerned about that, he doesn't know about it yet. He's going to take down a pylon. CPU isn't going to get supply blocked by that, he's got another one coming in back at home. But the overall Stalker count is 5 to 8 in favour of Wilko. However, an Immortal is on its way, and Wilko doesn't have blink or anything, so he can't even blink on it quickly. that pretty much shuts down him being able to counterattack with any form of ease because it just wouldn't be successful. Instead, Wilko's opting for that Twilight Council. The Immortal now popping out, that's going to just really aid the defense and pretty much shut down any Stalker only play, especially once the second Immortal comes out. That really does shut down even Blink Stalkers because 2 Immortals are able to dish out enough damage to the Stalkers that they're just not going to get taken out in time. 1 Immortal you can get blinked on top of and focused out quickly. This time it's going to be Wilko opting for those Dark Templar. Dark Shrine started. It's going to be quite late, and with the robotics facility already there, we should almost certainly now see an Observer come out just to be safe from that. I'd be very surprised if we didn't. 2 Immortals is generally a pretty standard spot to stop at because it's able to deal with those Blink Stalkers so nicely. So keeping a close eye on what Wilko is going to be doing. For the moment he's just waiting patiently, not doing anything too mad or any much of a rush. Big Stalker count has been revealed. The second Immortal not quite with the army yet. CPU won't engage until that second Immortal's there. But interestingly, CPU also hasn't opted to produce himself an Observer. That means with the Dark Shrine about 3/4 done, DTs are now a serious threat to him. It's all down to whether he can break up this ramp. And I'd quite like to see Wilko throw in a sentry, and he might well do that after seeing that Immortal. Good force field though comes down. Blink gonna have to be revealed once it's finished, but it's not actually going to be done in time, so 3 Stalkers taken down for the cost of 1 force field. A brilliant trade. That force field amazing. Wilko though still up 13 Stalkers to 11, but with the 2 Immortals it's going to be quite problematic. 2 more Zealots getting warped in. Interestingly not a sentry, and I say that's interesting. Oh, actually Wilko doesn't have the gas for it, that's why. He's warped in a single Dark Templar. Over on the other side of the map, the robotic facility not making an Observer. Wilko has to hold though, and with the 2 Immortals that can be a little bit tough. The Dark Templar are going to start trying to shred away, but an Immortal in production, that isn't going to help. The Chrono Boost's already been spent as well. Is it going to get switched quickly enough? I'm keeping a close eye on the minimap. What is going to be the response to this? Will the Dark Templar start swiping away? The Stalker's blinking down, out of range of those Immortals. A Dark Templar there too, allows a couple of swipes to go through. The DT back at home, getting some nice damage done, killing a good number of probes. An Observer coming down, but 8 workers killed already by Wilko with that 1 DT. It's not even bothering doing anything else. It's like, I'm gonna die, but my god, I did good. The probes pretty much safe for the moment. 1 more may go down, does manage to get it, so that's 11 workers killed to 2. Wilko now coming across the map, taking out these pylons. 1 proxy has been left up, which is a little bit annoying. Wilko's got a defensive Dark Templar. The 2 Immortals still looking very strong as it stands. An Archon would be very good against that though. A sentry coming in for Wilko now, that needs to back away. Doesn't want to be getting in and taking too much damage, so just playing it very cautiously at the moment. Needs to run, Wilko! Oh, that poor sentry. It died such a hideously painful death. The Mothership Core does go on vision of the high ground, which would allow for some blinks up if Wilko wants to commit that heavily. But Wilko is only ahead by 4 Stalkers. And of course there's the Zealots and the 3 Immortals there. Wilko goes for the force field now. That's actually quite a bold move, and there's nothing really that can be done about that. The Stalker's coming in. They're going to try and take down that Nexus. Is there a second sentry? Can it get there in time? If it can, it would be huge, but it won't be able to make it across. That could have been a beautiful play. Blink, of course, allows those Stalkers to navigate over or through or just past those 2 force fields. Unfortunately, Wilko, a bit of miscontrol there on his Mothership Core. Lets it get taken down. A sentry also dying. That's really not too comfortable. Photon Overcharge has been used, and that's, again, going to help this defense, but with the Immortals, they're actually the big problem. Wilko going very aggressive up against this, losing quite a few Stalkers there. Overall, Stalkers lost 8 to 3. Resources lost heavily favouring CPU at the moment, who's coming in with a few Zealots. They're not going to do much when a Dark Templar is there. Zealots of his own. Wilko adding in Immortals now too. Just trying to help, trying to do a little bit of blocking there to try and prevent the Zealots from making their way through, which will help, but it's not going to be enough there. Wilko backing out with most of his Stalkers, but it's CPU coming across the map with this frankly terrifying force that could be the problem. He's even bringing the Observer with it, which is very important, so the DTs can't ruin his push. But with so many units with a big army supply lead, CPU looking very strong in this second map. Yes, he's down in workers, but it's only by 2. Not much at all. A couple of Zealots getting morphed in. The Immortals, of course, really help with the damage. If this Nexus falls, it'd be very problematic. Those force fields, very nice, but the Archon even morphing is a massive unit, so it can break the force fields nice and quick. Immortals though dishing out a decent chunk of damage. The Stalkers have to be prioritized. The Immortals not falling as of yet, and that is allowing CPU to trade quite well here. The Archon is going to be harder to take down, but is focused by the Stalkers. And now the Immortal count heavily in favor of CPU. He's losing some now though, and that with reinforcements will help Wilko. The Wilko Stalkers just nowhere to be seen. The Immortals alone with no support can get focused very easily, get taken down, and with that CPU should take this series 2-0 to advance forward into the semi-finals. Wilko down to just 27 supply. He's not counter-attacking with anything as far as I can see, so this is very much now CPU's game. Wilko just coming to terms with the fact that he is unfortunately going to be knocked out of the tournament. Trying to think of some way that he could try and hold, but it's nigh on impossible here. A Dark Templar getting warped in, but with the Observer, with the army, even that won't be able to help. It was a nice try, but the Observer's just there. If the Observer had been taken out, it would have bought Wilko time, but now it's not going to be enough. GG is called. Good luck. CPU advances on to the semi-finals, and Wilko is unfortunately eliminated.